Oh jeez, oh my, there I go again. You don't score enough, I mean no offense.
The Edmonton Oilers would like to select with their first pick, Connor McDavid.
Buffalo selects Jack Eichel.
The Colorado Avalanche are proud to select with our first pick, Nathan MacKinnon.
The Florida Panthers are proud to select Alexander Barkov.
With the first pick overall, the New Jersey Devils are proud to select Jack Hughes.
With the second pick in the 2019 draft, Kaapo Kakko.
The top 2 picks of the NHL draft. They can land your franchise a superstar player and can determine the direction of your team for years to come. The Edmonton Oilers landed Connor McDavid in 2015, turning their franchise around after years of mediocrity. Remember Nail Yakupov, guys? Yeah. Nathan MacKinnon has emerged as a superstar for the Colorado Avalanche ever since they drafted him in 2013, helping to lay the foundation for them to become the perennial Stanley Cup contenders that we see today. And the New Jersey Devils are a recent example, as Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, both former first overall draft picks, have helped to combine to bring the Devils back into the Stanley Cup conversation for their foreseeable future. But what if these teams had decided to go in another direction? What if Edmonton had taken Jack Eichel first overall and Buffalo had gotten McDavid second?
What?
And taking it a step further, what if we went back 10, 15 years even, and reversed every single one of the top 2 picks in each of those drafts? What would that look like, and how would that play out for the teams involved? Well, that is exactly what we're going to be finding out here today in NHL 23, as I am going to be going ahead and creating an alternate NHL universe, where I will be reversing every top 2 pick of the last 15 NHL drafts.
You're crazy, man.
In order to do this, I made sure that my rosters were up to date. Shout out to Jiggly Tatas for the rosters. And then I simply went to player movement, where I was able to begin reversing every top 2 pick from the last 15 years, starting with 2008. In 2008, the Tampa Bay Lightning selected Steven Stamkos first overall, while the Los Angeles Kings, picking second overall, selected defenseman Drew Doughty. So in our first pick swap, Drew Doughty is going to be going to the Tampa Bay Lightning now, while Steven Stamkos will be heading to California to play for the Los Angeles Kings. Next up, we have the 09 NHL draft, where the New York Islanders selected John Tavares with the first overall pick, while the Tampa Bay Lightning took defenseman Victor Hedman second overall. So Victor Hedman will now be going to New York to play for the Islanders, while John Tavares will be joining Drew Doughty and the Tampa Bay Lightning. In the 2010 NHL draft, or as one could call it, the Taylor versus Tyler draft, the Edmonton Oilers ended up taking Taylor Hall with the first overall selection, while Tyler Seguin went second overall to the Boston Bruins. And this pick by the Bruins, of course, was one of the first rounders that they had acquired in the trade that sent Phil Kessel to Toronto. So for this swap, Tyler Seguin will now be going to the Edmonton Oilers, and Taylor Hall will now be going to the Boston Bruins. In the 2011 draft, the Edmonton Oilers took Ryan Nugent-Hopkins first overall, and the Colorado Avalanche took Gabriel Landeskog with the second overall pick. So Gabriel Landeskog will now be going to the Edmonton Oilers, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins will become the newest member of the Colorado Avalanche. In the 2012 draft, and to put it mildly, this is an ugly top of the draft. The Edmonton Oilers took one of the biggest draft busts in not just NHL history, but professional sports history, as they took Nail Yakupov with the first overall selection.
That's terrible.
Doing a little bit better, but that's not really saying much, the Columbus Blue Jackets took defenseman Ryan Murray second overall. So in this swap, Ryan Murray goes to the Edmonton Oilers, while Nail Yakupov will be going to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Not surprisingly, Nail Yakupov is not in NHL 23, so I quickly created him myself in NHL 23, put him at 69 overall, nice, and put him on the Blue Jackets roster. Ryan Murray, thankfully, is still an NHL player, and he was already on the Edmonton Oilers roster. In the 2013 NHL draft, the Colorado Avalanche took the speedy Nathan MacKinnon first overall, while the Florida Panthers took two-way stud Alexander Barkov at number 2. So in this massive swap, Alexander Barkov will now be joining Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and the Colorado Avalanche, while Nathan MacKinnon now heads down south to sunny Florida to join the Panthers. Moving on to the 2014 draft, the Florida Panthers moved up one spot from the previous year, this time taking Aaron Ekblad first overall. And picking second, the Buffalo Sabres took forward Sam Reinhart. So in this top draft pick swap, we will be seeing Sam Reinhart head to Florida, while Aaron Ekblad will now become the newest member of the Buffalo Sabres. Moving on now to the league-altering 2015 NHL draft. This is, of course, where everything changed for the Edmonton Oilers as they took Connor McDavid with the first overall pick. The Buffalo Sabres, of course, took Jack Eichel with the second pick. So in this alternate NHL, the Edmonton Oilers now miss out on Connor McDavid and will now instead be getting Jack Eichel. And the Buffalo Sabres are now an extremely dangerous team as they will now have Connor McDavid centering their first line along with players like Tage Thompson. In the 2016 NHL draft, the Toronto Maple Leafs took American sniper Austin Matthews in what was a franchise-altering selection. And picking second overall, the Winnipeg Jets took Finnish sniper and winger Patrik Laine. So in this swap, Patrik Laine will now be heading back to Canada, where he will join the Toronto Maple Leafs, while Austin Matthews will now become a member of the Winnipeg Jets. In the 2017 NHL draft, the New Jersey Devils had the first overall selection, and they picked the Swiss-born Nico Hischier. They made a nice safe choice there, as the Philadelphia Flyers ended up taking Nolan Patrick second overall, and he hasn't quite been able to put it together yet at the NHL level. In this swap, however, it will be the Philadelphia Flyers walking away with Nico Hischier, and the New Jersey Devils settling for Nolan Patrick. In 2018, the Buffalo Sabres took defenseman Rasmus Dahlin first overall, while the Carolina Hurricanes took forward Andrei Svechnikov at number 2. So Andrei Svechnikov will now be teaming up with Connor McDavid on the Buffalo Sabres, while Rasmus Dahlin now heads to the Carolina Hurricanes. In 2019, the New Jersey Devils had the first overall pick once again, and they selected the dynamic Jack Hughes. Following that, the New York Rangers then took Kaapo Kakko with the second overall draft pick. So Kaapo will now be heading to the New Jersey Devils instead, while Jack Hughes heads to Broadway to join a stacked New York Rangers squad. In the 2020 NHL draft, the New York Rangers jumped up in the draft lottery to take Alexis Lafreniere with the first overall pick. And with their first top 2 selection since 2008, where they took Drew Doughty at number 2 overall, the LA Kings take Quinton Byfield at number 2 as well. But once again, LA will see this pick swapped, as Quinton Byfield now heads over to the Rangers to join Jack Hughes, while Lafreniere will now play with Steven Stamkos and the LA Kings. In 2021, the Buffalo Sabres held the first overall pick, where they took 6'6" defenseman Owen Power. Seattle, picking at number 2, took Matty Beniers. But of course, in this alternate NHL, Matty Beniers will now be going to the Buffalo Sabres, while Owen Power makes his way to Seattle to join the Kraken. And in our final draft and pick swap, in the 2022 NHL draft, the Montreal Canadiens selected Juraj Slafkovsky with the first overall pick, while the New Jersey Devils took defenseman Simon Nemec with the second pick. So Nemec will now be heading north to Montreal, while Slafkovsky will join the New Jersey Devils. Alright, so now we have the top 2 picks of the last 15 years all completely reversed. So now it's time to load into a franchise mode with our new custom roster and begin this alternate NHL. Of course, for this video, I just want to see how things play out in this alternate universe, but obviously I do have to pick a team to control in order to be able to do this. So I had to choose a team that, number 1, wasn't involved in any of the pick swaps, and number 2, is so utterly terrible and irrelevant that they really won't play much of a role in this simulation whether I control them or not. So I chose my favorite team, the San Jose Sharks. Alright, so now that we're in franchise mode, before we actually sim the regular season and playoffs, let's go ahead and check out all the new look lineups. On Boston, of course, we have Taylor Hall, but he's here in real life, so nothing really new to see here. Connor McDavid now dons the Buffalo blue as he centers the top line for the Sabres. And playing on the wing beside McDavid is one of our other top pick swaps, Andrei Svechnikov. This forward group is absolutely stacked, so stacked that they are apparently able to healthy scratch rookie sensation Matty Beniers. And on defense, they now have Aaron Ekblad anchoring the back end. Rasmus Dahlin is playing on the second pair along with Brent Burns on Carolina, as that Hurricane defense group looks like it could be among the league's best. Unsurprisingly, Nail Yakupov was nowhere to be found in the Blue Jackets lineup, as he's probably been buried in the AHL somewhere.
I done the math. Checks out.
Alexander Barkov is of course now a member of the Colorado Avalanche, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins will be centering the third line for this new look Avalanche team, as both Nathan MacKinnon and Gabriel Landeskog are now no longer members of the Avalanche. With Connor McDavid now in Buffalo, of course, Jack Eichel slots in as the new face of the Edmonton franchise, along with Leon Draisaitl, as they team up on that first line. Tyler Seguin will be centering the second line for Edmonton, while Gabriel Landeskog will be on the third line for some reason. Oh, and don't forget about good old Ryan Murray, who will be playing on the third pair. Nathan MacKinnon will be playing on the first line along with Matthew Tkachuk for the Florida Panthers, as he takes Barkov's spot as the new face of the franchise. And Sam Reinhart, who is already here on the Panthers, will be centering the second line. Steven Stamkos is now on the Los Angeles Kings, and they've actually decided to play him on the wing on the first line in order to pair him together with Anze Kopitar. The Kings' other pick swap, Alexis Lafreniere, will be playing on the second line as he gets to see top 6 minutes on his new team. And on the Montreal Canadiens, Simon Nemec will be playing on the third pair with fellow youngster Arbor Xhekaj. The New Jersey Devils forward group is looking a lot different now without Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, as we see Juraj Slafkovsky is now on the team, playing on the second line on the left wing, along with Kaapo Kakko, who is all the way down on that fourth line playing right wing. And not surprisingly, Nolan Patrick was in the healthy scratches. The New York Islanders defense is looking pretty elite, as they now have Victor Hedman anchoring their top pair with Ryan Pulock. And the New York Rangers are just simply unfair now. Jack Hughes is playing on a line with frickin' Patrick Kane and Artemi Panarin.
Oh my Lanta.
And Quinton Byfield, who of course was our other pick swap for the New York Rangers, will be playing on the third line. Nico Hischier will be centering the first line for the Philadelphia Flyers. So this Flyers forward group is looking a lot better now with Hischier there. Owen Power will be playing on the third defense pair for the Seattle Kraken. On the Tampa Bay Lightning, John Tavares is centering the first line with Nikita Kucherov, while Drew Doughty slots in on that top pair with Mikhail Sergachev, forming maybe one of the best defense pairs in the entire league in my opinion. The age of Austin Matthews is over in Toronto, but worry not, Leaf fans, the Patrick Laine era has now begun. In all honesty though, even without Austin Matthews, the Leafs still have one of the better forward groups in the entire league. But unfortunately, there's still the
playoffs.
And speaking of Austin Matthews, he will be centering the first line for the Winnipeg Jets now, playing alongside Kyle Connor and Nikolai Ehlers. Okay, so those are all the new lineups, so now it's time to go ahead and sim through the regular season and playoffs to see how everyone performs and who wins our Lord Stanley's Cup. And as a reminder, I'm simply simming through everything strictly as an observer, so I won't be making any trades or anything like that. I just want to see how everything plays out. All right, let's go. As we finish simming up the regular season, let's take a look at the final standings, starting with the Atlantic Division, where the Boston Bruins led the way with 52 wins and 110 points as they take first place in the division. The new look Toronto Maple Leafs with Patrick Laine also had a great year as they finish in second place, and finishing third in the Atlantic Division are John Tavares, Drew Doughty, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Ottawa had a great year, winning 45 games, and the fifth and final team to clinch a playoff spot in the Atlantic Division are Connor McDavid and the Buffalo Sabres. And in a bit of a surprise, Nathan MacKinnon and the Florida Panthers missed the playoffs. What? Along with the Montreal Canadiens and the Detroit Red Wings. Taking a look now at the Metropolitan Division, the New York Rangers were an absolute juggernaut, finishing with a massive 57 wins and 122 points. The Carolina Hurricanes and Rasmus Dahlin ended up finishing in second place, while Nico Hischier and the Philadelphia Flyers ended up being a bit of a surprise playoff team, as they are the third and final team to clinch a playoff spot in the Metro. The New Jersey Devils painfully missed the playoffs by 1 point, and they are joined by Victor Hedman and the New York Islanders, the Pittsburgh Penguins, Washington Capitals, and Columbus Blue Jackets as teams who all missed the playoffs. Heading to the Western Conference now and the Central Division, the Dallas Stars finish up in first place as they end the season with 49 wins. Alexander Barkov and the Colorado Avalanche had a great year, finishing in second place, while Austin Matthews and the Winnipeg Jets clinched their spot in the playoffs, finishing third in the division. Somewhat surprisingly, the Nashville Predators also made the playoffs, finishing in fourth place, while the Minnesota Wild finish in fifth place, also clinching a playoff spot. The St. Louis Blues, Chicago Blackhawks, and Arizona Coyotes all missed out on the playoffs in the Central Division. And finally, we've got the Pacific, where the Calgary Flames finish as the top team in the division, and somehow, some way, the Anaheim Ducks end up being good as they finish in second place. And Steven Stamkos and the LA Kings just barely squeeze into the final playoff spot here in the West as they take third place in the division. San Jose actually did a lot better than I thought they would, but they still end up missing the playoffs while also essentially ruining their chances at a top draft pick. Way to go, boys. Jack Eichel and the Edmonton Oilers end up missing the playoffs in perhaps one of the more surprising results here, and the Vegas Golden Knights, Seattle Kraken, and Vancouver Canucks all miss the playoffs. Looking now at the player stats and how all of our top picks performed individually, Connor McDavid had a fantastic season in Buffalo, finishing with 105 points with 46 goals and 59 assists. Andrei Svechnikov had a solid season playing alongside Connor McDavid, putting up 32 goals and 45 assists for 77 points in 82 games. Aaron Ekblad also had a great year for Buffalo, putting up 51 points with 11 goals and 40 assists as the team's top defenseman. And Matty Beniers only got into 11 games total for Buffalo in this alternate NHL, putting up 2 of each for 4 points. Rasmus Dahlin had a solid season for Carolina, scoring 12 times and putting up 49 points in 77 games. Alexander Barkov had an okay season for the Avalanche as he put up 66 points in 82 games, while Ryan Nugent-Hopkins put up 48 points for the Avalanche, scoring 22 times to go along with 26 assists. Nail Yakupov? Nope. Jack Eichel had a fantastic year as he put up 30 goals and 60 assists for 90 points in 82 games. And Gabriel Landeskog put up 21 goals while contributing 67 points in his 78 games played. Tyler Seguin had 27 goals and 51 points in just 66 games. And Ryan Murray ended up playing in 77 games for the Edmonton Oilers, amassing a whopping 4 goals and 8 assists.
Yeah, boy.
Nathan MacKinnon had a fantastic season for Florida, putting up 44 goals and 46 assists for 90 points. Steven Stamkos was phenomenal in Los Angeles as he put up 96 points, scoring 46 goals and 50 assists. And Laugh had a good year in LA as well, putting up 43 points over 80 games, including 18 goals. Simon Nemec actually ended up appearing in 77 games for the Montreal Canadiens, but he had a rough go at it, only scoring 14 points to go along with a rough -23 rating. Capo Kakko had 11 goals and 19 assists for 30 points playing for the New Jersey Devils, while Juraj Slafkovsky had a very similar season with 29 points, but he only played in 65 games, so he was on pace for a bit more. And Nolan Patrick, unsurprisingly, didn't actually end up playing in any games for the Devils at the NHL level. Victor Hedman had a bit of a down year on Long Island, scoring only 6 times for 47 points in 80 games. Jack Hughes was excellent for the 57-win New York Rangers, putting up 19 goals for 71 points in 81 games. And Quentin Byfield played in all but 2 games for New York, putting up 23 points. Nico Hischier had a solid all-around performance for the Philadelphia Flyers as he put up 33 goals and 30 assists while playing in all 82 games. Owen Power played in just 69 games, putting up 18 points for the Seattle Kraken. Drew Doughty had a great year for the Tampa Bay Lightning, putting up 60 points in 82 games. And unfortunately, John Tavares only appeared in 11 games for Tampa, putting up 10 points. Apparently, he spent the majority of the season in his Leafs pajamas, out with what the Tampa Bay Lightning are calling homesickness. But thankfully, as you can see here, Tavares is back in the Tampa Bay lineup, ready to roll for playoffs. Patrick Laine actually had an unbelievable season for the Toronto Maple Leafs, putting up 44 goals and 81 points in a full 82 games. Austin Matthews, who? Oh shit, right, this guy. As we see, Austin Matthews had an even better year for the Winnipeg Jets, scoring 46 goals and 88 points. Overall, McDavid was the top scorer in the entire league over the course of the regular season with his 105 points, while Brad Marchand and Nikita Kucherov tied with 51 goals each for the most goals in the league. Looking at our playoff bracket now, starting with the Western Conference, we have Austin Matthews and the Winnipeg Jets taking on Alexander Barkov, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and the Colorado Avalanche, while the Dallas Stars take on the Minnesota Wild. And the surprising Anaheim Ducks will face off against Steven Stamkos and the Los Angeles Kings in a battle of California. And in our fourth and final Western Conference Round 1 matchup, we have the Calgary Flames going up against the Nashville Predators. In the Eastern Conference, we have Rasmus Dahlin and the Carolina Hurricanes versus Nico Hischier and the Philadelphia Flyers. And the playoff favorites, Jack Hughes and the 57-win New York Rangers, will be going up against a very worthy opponent as they face off against Connor McDavid and the Buffalo Sabres. The Toronto Maple Leafs will be going up against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round of the playoffs as John Tavares will face his former team. And rounding out our first round matchups, we've got the Boston Bruins going up against the up-and-coming Ottawa Senators. Okay, so with our first round matchup set, let's go ahead and sim the first round. And after simulating the first round, we see that Austin Matthews and the Winnipeg Jets won their series over the Colorado Avalanche in 6 games, while the Minnesota Wild took care of the Dallas Stars in just 5. So they will move on to face the Winnipeg Jets and Austin Matthews in the second round. And Steven Stamkos and the LA Kings took down the Anaheim Ducks in 6 games, while the Calgary Flames won their series over Nashville in just 5. As they will move on to the second round to face Steven Stamkos and the Los Angeles Kings. In the Eastern Conference, Rasmus Dahlin and the Carolina Hurricanes just barely escaped their first round matchup with Nico Hischier and the Philadelphia Flyers, as they earned the hard-fought 7-game series victory. And Jack Hughes and the President's Trophy winning New York Rangers made easy work of Connor McDavid and the Buffalo Sabres, as they will now face the Carolina Hurricanes in the next round. And hallelujah, it's a miracle, ladies and gentlemen. The Toronto Maple Leafs have defeated the Tampa Bay Lightning in a thrilling 7-game series to move on to the second round of the playoffs.
Lord, it's a miracle.
And wrapping up the first round, the Boston Bruins defeated the Ottawa Senators in just 5 games. So our second round matchups are set. Let's go ahead and see what happens. Looking now at the results of round number 2, we see that the Winnipeg Jets and the Los Angeles Kings have both won their matchups, setting up a battle between pick swaps Austin Matthews and Steven Stamkos, as the Jets will be taking on the Kings in the Western Conference Final. On the Eastern Conference side, the Carolina Hurricanes actually pulled off the major upset, taking down the New York Rangers in a 7-game war. And the good times didn't last long in Toronto, as immediately after defeating their first round demons, the Maple Leafs were immediately bounced from the playoffs by the Bruins in a quick 5-game series.
Oh no! We suck again!
So there are your final 4 teams: Winnipeg versus LA and Carolina versus Boston. Let's find out who will be facing off in the Stanley Cup final. And after winning both of their series in just 5 games each, the Winnipeg Jets and Boston Bruins will be going head to head for the Stanley Cup. And as our last pick reversal standing, I'm really hoping that Austin Matthews and the Winnipeg Jets can take home the win here. I know Taylor Hall was technically a pick swap too, but he's on Boston in real life, so it's just not the same. Alright, let's sim the finals. In game number 1, the Boston Bruins jump out to a 1-0 series lead after taking game 1 by a score of 5-3. The Bruins pull off the game 2 victory with a similar score of 4-3 and find themselves in a commanding 2-0 series lead. But the Jets respond with a massive 4-3 victory of their own as they take game number 3 and claw their way back into the series 2-1. But Boston immediately puts their foot back down as they take game number 4 by a score of 4-2 and put themselves just 1 win away from the Stanley Cup with a commanding 3-1 series lead. Now needing 3 wins in a row and the odds completely stacked against them, the Winnipeg Jets win 4-2 in game number 5 to keep their hopes alive here in the Stanley Cup Finals. Still needing 2 more wins, the Jets pull off a defensive classic in game 6, winning the game 2-1 and forcing this series into a do-or-die game number 7. Will the Boston Bruins take the cup, or will Austin Matthews and the Winnipeg Jets bring the Stanley Cup to Canada? As we sim through the deciding game number 7, the Winnipeg Jets win by a score of 6-4 as they complete the miraculous series comeback after being down 3-1 in the series. What an incredible performance by the Winnipeg Jets to come all the way back, and apparently all Austin Matthews had to do to taste playoff success was to just get away from the Toronto Maple Leafs. With the playoffs now wrapped up, we take a look at our top playoff scorers, and Blake Wheeler surprisingly led the way with 29 points in 23 games, including 12 goals. And Austin Matthews was right behind him with 28 points in 23 games, but he had an even more impressive 15 goals. Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele also had a great playoff with 23 points each, and with the top 4 scorers of the playoffs all on the Winnipeg Jets, I think we can see why they ended up winning the cup.
No shit.
And shout out to Steven Stamkos, who was fantastic for the Kings with 15 points in 16 games during the playoffs, as he helped LA reach the Western Conference Finals. Looking at our end of the year awards, the Winnipeg Jets were of course our Stanley Cup champions, while the New York Rangers were the President's Trophy winners with their 57 wins. But with the Rangers losing in the second round of the playoffs during our simulation, the curse of the President's Trophy strikes again. Connor McDavid ended up winning the Art Ross Trophy after leading the league in scoring with 105 points, as well as winning the Hart Trophy as the MVP of the regular season. Cale Makar won the Norris Trophy as the top defenseman. Artemi Panarin was the winner of the Lady Byng Trophy. And in a bit of a surprise, Alexander Holtz ended up winning the Calder Trophy for the New Jersey Devils as the top rookie of the season. Austin Matthews was the recipient of the Conn Smythe Trophy as the MVP of the playoffs. Igor Shesterkin won the Vezina Trophy after backstopping the President's Trophy winning Rangers to their 57-win season. And Brad Marchand won the Rocket Richard after leading the league with 51 goals. Alright, well that is going to do it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like and let me know down in the comments any thoughts you guys have. Also, let me know if you guys want me to make another video like this in the future. Maybe go back even further and reverse those drafts from like 20-25 years ago. But yeah, that's enough of me for today. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, Moose out.